What's up, ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It's Dan here from Cryonoir. The statement, the best game of all time, is possibly the most loaded statement of all time. How do we go about determining something's worth? Metacritic, sales records, artistic merit, contribution to gaming culture. When I try to think of the best games I've ever played, there's quite a few that crop up. Noir, Grand Theft Auto 5, San Andreas, Day of the Tentacle, Doom 2, Mass Effect 2, Streets of Rage 2, Half-Life 2, Street Fighter 2, man, that's a lot of twos. Sonic 1, Broken Sword, Mario Kart, Fallout 3, there's a lot to choose from. For a game to hold the coveted title of the best game of all time, it must put a big fat red tick in every box you can think of. The graphics can't just be good, they have to also have a unique aesthetic that runs through every asset, every scene, and through every visual effect. Something that can set the visuals apart from any other game on the market. The mechanics have to be flawless, and I mean flawless. You should always feel like you have complete control over the character, down to the millimetre. Every switch you operate, every door you open, every projectile you fire should feel satisfying and, more importantly, solid. The level design must be incredibly well thought out, feeling both believable in the world that you're in, yet not so cluttered as to cause the player to snag on objects and scenery. It should be silently guiding the player in the direction they need to go at all times, signposting the way forwards in such a subtle way that the player is completely oblivious to its effects. Yet they should be uncontrollably compelled to head in the right direction. They should, however, also be rewards for players who explore, who go off the beaten path and poke at the environment looking for more than is immediately obvious. The story should be told to the player both verbally and environmentally, creating a narrative that is so engaging and immersive that the player is just there, in the story, living it as though it was their own life. The characters must be whole, three-dimensional, fleshed out, with thoughts hidden from the player yet alluded to through subtle gestures and the phrasing of their words. The player must have a tangible goal, a place in the story, and always be aware of how their actions have and continue to shape the story that they are a part of. The sound design must be perfect, with every tink, bleep, whistle and whoop being so distinct the player can recognise them without any reference to the game. Dialogue has to be witty, serious, whimsical, intimidating, full of drama and dripping in character. Lines so well written that they take on a life of their own and break out of the game world into the vocabulary of everyone who plays the game.
Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you.
And the music also has to ebb and flow with the action and fit the tone, whether it be a commissioned score or a selection of pre-existing tracks. If all these lofty goals aren't enough, the game must also be easy to learn but hard to master, cheap to buy but not full of predatory microtransactions, have a multiplayer but no loot boxes, but also, most of all, it has to be fun. So, with all of that being said, there is only one game out there that I can think of that covers all of those bases. Have you guessed what it is yet?
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 50 days. In compliance with state and federal regulations, all testing candidates in the Aperture Science Extended Relaxation Center must be revived periodically for a mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look up at the ceiling. Good. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, look down at the floor. Good. This completes the gymnastic portion of your mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise. There is a framed painting on the wall. Please go stand in front of it. This is art. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, stare at the art. You should now feel mentally reinvigorated. If you suspect staring at art has not provided the required intellectual sustenance, reflect briefly on this classical music. Good. Now please return to your bed.
Portal 2 is quite simply a masterpiece, and here's why. Okay, so the individual assets themselves weren't the most cutting edge at the time, bearing in mind that this game came out at the same time as Crysis 2 and Modern Warfare 3, but because of the unified aesthetic that's running throughout all of them, it's aging really well. I can't really put my finger on it. It's almost like if an Apple research lab was bought out by the Umbrella Corporation. I love it. A lot of AAA titles from 8 years ago look like AAA titles from 8 years ago. This, on the other hand, looks as though it could have been released by an indie studio yesterday, and in some shots, it looks downright gorgeous. Okay, so you might think the mechanics are pretty straightforward. One portal here, one portal there, you go in one and you come out the other. But there's a bit more to it than that. Firstly, your speed on entering the portal is carried with you as you travel through it, meaning you can fall to build up speed and then use that speed to propel yourself over massive distances. To quote the first game,
"Momentum, a function of mass and velocity, is conserved between portals. In layman's terms, speedy thing goes in, speedy thing comes out."
Next is the way that the player character has a gyroscope built into it, so that if you come out of a portal upside down, the game rights you in midair. Then there's the addition of the gels that help you bounce or run faster, or the fact that the switches and buttons all have large hitboxes, so you don't have to get super close to them to operate them all. It's tight, basically. It's tight. Everything feels really tight. Not only is every test chamber really well thought out as a puzzle in its own right, each section of the game has a distinct feel to it. As you progress, the environments change from the offices and test chambers of a high-tech facility ravaged by time and neglect at the start of the game, to the cobbled together test chambers at the end made by Wheatley. My favourite section by far is the section under the main facility. The original Aperture Science has a very 50s early Cold War feel to it. From the colour palette of the floor tiles and the walls in the offices to the test chambers made of chipboard and exposed concrete. It's here that the levels open out massively as you have to make your way through the abandoned ruins of a once huge research station. And somehow, even though the puzzles are no longer just in blank white rooms with a clear exit door to work your way towards, the designers managed to make these areas just as easy to work your way through. The storytelling in this game is also top notch. Not only do you have NPC characters chatting to you, providing real-time motivation, the world building around you is everywhere. From the hidden dens of previous test subjects to the weird scrawlings you pass early on that depict the events of the first game, there isn't 1 inch that doesn't add to the narrative. Okay, so all the sound effects sound great, and they're all unique enough to be recognised when you hear them outside of the game, which is all good, but the real seller here is the performances of the voice actors.
To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
Ellen McLean returns as GLaDOS in the turrets, which is, well, flawless.
Well done. Here come the test results. You are a horrible person. That's what it says. A horrible person. We weren't even testing for that. Don't let that horrible person thing discourage you. It's just a data point. If it makes you feel any better, science has now validated your birth mother's decision to abandon you on a doorstep.
Are you still there? Searching lost. Goodbye. I don't blame you.
She's joined by Stephen Merchant, who is, being Stephen Merchant, that guy's funny in everything he does.
Hey, up here. I found some bird eggs up here. Just dropped them into the door mechanism. Shut it right down. Bird! Okay, that's probably the bird in it that laid the eggs. Livid.
But for me, it's J.K. Simmons as Cave Johnson that steals the show. His dialogue is goddamn epic.
Those of you helping us test the repulsion gel today, just follow the blue line on the floor. Those of you who volunteered to be injected with praying mantis DNA, I've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is we're postponing those tests indefinitely. Good news is we've got a much better test for you. Fighting an army of Mantis Men. Pick up a rifle and follow the yellow line. You'll know when the test starts. Just a heads up, we're going to have a superconductor turned up full blast and pointed at you for the duration of this next test. I'll be honest, we're throwing science at the wall here to see what sticks. No idea what it'll do. Probably nothing. Best case scenario, you might get some superpowers. Worst case, some tumors, which we'll cut out. Oh, in case you got covered in that repulsion gel, here's some advice the lab boys gave me. Do not get covered in the repulsion gel. We haven't entirely nailed down what element it is yet, but I'll tell you this, it's a lively one, and it does not like the human skeleton.
So that's all the good parts listed. So I guess for balance, I should list my complaints. It's kind of a bit short. I mean, once you have all the puzzles down, you can run the whole game in about 2.5 hours. But I mean, your first playthrough is going to take you a shitload longer than that, depending on how quickly you solve all the puzzles. And I think I prefer Still Alive to I Want You Gone. And that's about it. Like, seriously. So if you're gaming on console, pick it up for the 360 or a PS3. It's dirt cheap, and I'm pretty sure it's backwards compatible. And if you're on Steam, it's less than a tenner. So just go and get it. It's the closest thing to a perfect game I've ever played. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. So Portal 2, you know, for me, it's the closest to a perfect game out there. I can think of lots and lots of other games I love, as I stated at the beginning, but, you know, Portal 2, I find it very hard to pick flaws in it. I can't think of any ways that I would make it better or improve it. Every other game I can always think of at least a couple of things, like maybe if they've done this, or maybe they would change this, or if that was my game I would have done it like this. But like Portal 2, I'm like, well, I legitimately can't think of any ways I would make it any better. Like, I really can't. It's so good. It's so good. But what did you think? Let me know what you think about Portal 2 down in the comments below. Did you think it was a big steaming pile of EA poop rather than a Valve masterpiece? And if you liked the video, hit that like and hit the subscribe. It would really help me out a bunch. Check out some of my other videos, and I will see you all later. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you very soon. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.
Well, here we are again. It's always such a pleasure. Remember when you tried to kill me twice? Oh, how we laughed and laughed. Except I wasn't laughing. Under the circumstances, I've been shockingly nice. You want your freedom, take it. That's what I'm counting on. I used to want you dead, but now I only want you gone. She was a lot like you, maybe not quite as heavy. Now little Carolyn is in you too. One day they woke me up so I could live forever. It's such a shame the same will never happen to you. You got your shorts and I flat. That's what I'm counting on. I'll let you get right to it. Now I only want you gone. Goodbye, my only friend. Oh, did you think I meant you? That would be funny if it weren't so sad. Well, you have been replaced. I don't need anyone now when I